Welcome back. I have a question for you. Have you ever been in this situation? You're stuck in a job for 7 years. You're applying for a new job. You want to get out of this, what you feel like is a measly, piddly, no good job. You want to move forward in your career, but every time you reach out, you apply, you're not accepted. Doors are closed. What about this one? You're a mom of 3 littles, all under 6. You can't even go to the bathroom by yourself. You feel overwhelmed. Sometimes you love it, and sometimes you wish things could be different. Or you're a young adult praying for the spouse to show up at your doorstep, the man or woman of your dreams, and you're wondering, is this ever going to actually happen? They say it will. I don't believe it. Then someone comes along and says this: just have faith. It'll all get better. What do you do at that moment? That's the question. Okay, listen, either you knock their lights out. I'm not saying to do that. Or you're not friends anymore. Maybe you just turn around and walk away. I have had that statement said to me before, and it's this feeling like I burn on the inside, like I want to scream. Just have faith. It will get better. Are you kidding me? Do you know what I go through on a day-to-day basis? Do you know that I've been trying to do it this way, that way? I've been trying to figure it out and nothing. Just have faith. I think we have coined this phrase and it's become cliche in such a way that it brings frustration instead of the reminder of truth. So here's the story for you. Probably about maybe 4 years ago, Andrew was in high school. Andrew's my son. He was in high school and he followed in his dad's footsteps when it comes to the gym. So the gym, the weightlifting, the training, it has been instilled in my children, my daughter and my son, and it's all my husband's fault. It's actually really fun to watch them work towards a goal, but my son was in high school. He had just started high school, so way more than 4 years ago. Anyway, he had just started high school, and my son was small but mighty. That little guy at the beginning of high school could push weight around like you would not believe. And he was in the locker room, and you know the locker room, the boys' locker room, when it's like every man for himself. This young testosterone is flowing through the room, and everyone's trying to outsmart, outbeat, outwork, outstink one another. Oh, anyway, so he's in the gym. It's off season and it's off season and they are lifting weights. And he was talking, like he would come home from school and him and his dad were talking about technique and posture and what to do and how to lift the most weights. And Andrew had been practicing and working at the gym outside of school in this, and he was crushing it. His name was on the winner's board that they put in the gym. And this little guy, small but mighty, back in the day, he was doing a great job. I was so proud of him. It was fun to watch. But he goes into the gym on this one particular day, and he was going to do what I believe is called a cling, C-L-I-N-G, cling. So you pick the weight up from the ground, you pull the weight up. There's a technique. All of you CrossFitters know what I'm talking about. You pull the weight up and you flick your wrists, and it rests kind of on your shoulders and your collarbone in front of your face. So the night before, Andrew and my husband are talking about this, and he said, son, You've got to be careful. This move, you could really hurt yourself. Don't try to be a superstar. Don't try to get your name on the board. Be careful. Go easy. Make sure you have good form. So my son goes in the next day, and I think he's just like in the room full of testosterone and it's just flowing. And so he picks the bar up, and oh my goodness, I do not know how much weight it was. I'm totally crushing his dreams right now. It was several hundred pounds. It was a lot of weight, maybe 200. I don't know. I'm going to have to ask him. I'll correct it in the comments if it's not right. But it was a lot of weight. So he picked it up off the ground. He said, yeah, everything was going great. He had the perfect posture, the perfect technique coming up, thrusting hips, the whole thing. Goes to catch the weight. And as his wrists went backwards towards his shoulders, so if you're listening on podcasts, like your wrists are facing forward, your hands are back towards your shoulders. He catches the bar in the palm of his hands and snap. His wrist broke. Oh my gosh. I can't imagine what that felt like. Yeah, it was crazy. So I get a phone call from the school. Miss Taylor, this is what happened. I believe his wrist is broken. I run up to the school. I get him. We go to an orthopedic doctor. The whole thing is set in motion. So he did, in fact, break his wrist. And interesting, he broke a small bone deep inside of his wrist. So the doctor said this is something that in its current state, because the bone, like it's separated, it can't heal on its own. We're going to have to do surgery. So we go through all the things needed. He has surgery. He comes out of surgery. They put like some metal in to hold this teeny tiny bone in place. So the surgeon comes out and he's talking to me and giving me instructions. And he said, now, there's a metal rod in his wrist that's going to hold the bone in place. But just know this, the metal rod is not there to heal the bone. It's not there to act as a bone. It's there to stabilize the bone while it heals together. But the only way it's going to heal together is if the blood flow gets to the bone and heals that way. The blood flow has to get to the bone. The bones have to stay still so that the blood can heal the bones. So I was like, okay, so he had this brace that he had to wear for a very long time. But the concept was, do not re-break the bone in your wrist, which could be easily done, because you would have to start all over again in the healing process. And I don't know that we could fix it or mend it at that point. So for months, he had to drop out of football. He had to go through the summer wearing this brace. It was long and arduous. The frustrating part was that he could not see the fracture in the broken bone. He couldn't see the rod that was in his wrist. It didn't feel bad. All that we knew was we had to leave it alone, leave it still so that the blood could heal. It was really hard for him to follow the rules and have faith that something was working on the inside of his wrist that he could not see. Sometimes he wanted to take the wrist off, the wristband off. And it was like, no. And especially in the summer, if you've ever had a kid break something in the summer, they have to have casts or whatever. And it's a fight. They want to have fun in the summer. But it was like, son, if you take that off, if you do things that could potentially hurt your wrist, you could break it again and be in worse shape. He had to have faith in the doctors and what they did on the operating table. He had to have faith and trust the process that his wrist would heal with time. I think that each of us find ourselves in that similar spot whenever the scripture says that we need to keep our eyes on Jesus, that he is the author and the finisher of our faith, that faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not yet seen. Andrew had to have faith and trust that what was not being seen inside of his body was actually healing. And he didn't know at the end what kind of mobility he would have. He didn't know if he would ever have to endure pain from it, arthritis. He had to have faith in the unseen to ensure that his future was well and bright. That's exactly what you and I are doing every single day. We are called to have faith in God. We are called to have faith that he has the perfect plan for our life and that in the unseen realm, what we cannot see with our natural eyes, he is working on our behalf. And the things we have not seen yet on this side of heaven, he says, I'm working everything according to your good, and you will see it in due time. Wow. I go back to the questions I asked at the beginning, and now I'll re-ask that question, just have faith. It will all get better. It means something different when we put it in a different perspective. And so, what is this faith walk? What do we do between now and when we see the things we have not seen yet? It feels like this huge gap and chasm between today and tomorrow, between today and when I find the man or woman of my dreams, between today and when I ask that man and woman of my dreams to become my husband and wife, between today and when I'm standing in a place of my dream job or dreams fulfilled or that business open. Man, that could feel like a huge leap of faith. So what do we do between where we are today and where we're going? There's a few things to do, some steps and some processes, and I want to give those to you today, and I want us to talk about it and what does it look like. It's pretty easy. These are three pretty easy things to do, and the fourth is repeat. I'll go ahead and give you that. Okay, so here we go. Step 1. When we are trying to figure out how to do this walk of faith, is to actually make a step. Take a step. So many times we don't make a move, take a step because we're fearful or because of our history. But I think about, here we go, I'm going to sound really smart, Newton's law of motion. A body remains at rest or in motion at a constant speed in a straight line unless acted upon by a force. Okay. So if you are not in motion, you will not be in motion unless an outside force comes along. Do you want me to be that outside force for you today? Do you need a good kick in the tail? Get up, get going, let's do it. If you're on the couch and you're wondering, will my life ever make itself or be anything, but you have not made a step in some direction, here is your wake-up call. You will continue to find yourself on the couch, sitting in that same spot, wringing your hands, worrying about tomorrow, unless you don't get up, get out, and do something. Take a step. Okay, so what if you have taken a step, but life has been the force that has kicked you out of motion? It's kicked you off your game. I want to encourage you, take a step again. Do it again. Take a step forward. See, assess your current reality. Assess where you are today and figure out what step do I need to make today to move forward. Because remember, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not yet seen. You've got a mustard seed of faith in you. That's a gift. So now what are we going to do with it? What are you hoping for? What are you longing for? What have you talked with your Father about and you're dreaming about? What are you stepping into that maybe you haven't seen yet? So maybe it's the first step could be that you need to decide, what is it that you're going to go after? What do you enjoy? What do you like? What's presented in front of you? What are the dreams and desires that maybe you've had? Maybe it's, I need to take a step in the direction of just having better health in my life. That's a step. What if it's, I need to take a step forward and actually mend some family relationships? That's a step. See, notice I'm not saying the step is the finished product. I'm saying the step is getting off the couch and moving forward. That's the step. Take a step in your career, take a step in college, just take a step. I'm reminded of my daughter recently. She's been applying to colleges to further her education and career. And she's been trying to decide, what do I do and where do I go and which path do I take? And I said, just pursue finding out knowledge. Start calling these colleges, start applying for different things. You'll never know until you take a step. The cool thing about her step is it provided multiple opportunities in front of her, and she got to choose which step she took. It was so wonderful. Take a step. Find something out. The answer to this question, what step do you need to take? It's unique to you. So my step isn't your step. It depends on your current circumstances. It depends on what you're looking at. But in this faith walk, take a step. Okay, the second thing, plant. Have you ever heard the saying, bloom where you're planted? Okay, I'm going to give it to you with a different spin on it. What about plant where you want to bloom? So I think we oftentimes look at the blooming or the lack thereof, and we don't ever plant anywhere. It's kind of that mentality of I want to be the CEO before I'm willing to do the grunt work. I want to walk in and be the best of the best without the education to get there. I want to move mountains, but I've never moved, I don't know, an anthill. I don't know. I want to do something really big, but I've never put in the effort or energy or discovered anything that would lead me in the steps to get there. John Maxwell says this. He says, anything worth having is uphill. Brilliant. He said, uphill dreams require uphill habits. There's something about achieving and moving forward that requires a little grit. And I think we want the bloom without the plant. And so if we're thinking about faith and moving forward in a faith walk, where are you today? And are you trying to reap a harvest without ever planting anything? See, I think we look around and we're disgruntled with our today, and we would say one of two things. I don't want any fruit of what I'm dealing with today. I'm unhappy in my job. I am unhappy with my family dynamics. I want to do something different, and I don't want to take anything from this season forward. I'm not planting here. I'm trying to get out of here. Could it be that your frustration and your anger and your wrestling with your situation, instead of it bringing heartache, sorrow, and frustration, maybe instead, if you would plant and focus on where you are, because it's where you are today. It's your reality today. What if you decide to plant some seeds of joy, contentment? What if you reaped a harvest of strength? What if you reaped a harvest of patience? What if you grew some muscles in your current season that are actually going to build you towards a better season? Or maybe we're like, you know what? We have like, I think about like, I see this picture in my mind, like feet that are like moving fast, like fast feet. Like you never sit still. You're always on the move. You're always on the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. I would say that's probably my downfall. I'm easy to move on to the next thing without planting in this thing. And I think there's been so many times in my life that I wish that I would have taken a moment and assessed my current season and reaped a harvest from the season that I was in, because I imagine this like backpacks and baskets full of fruit and blooms and plants and I don't know, things that I'm like, wow, I could have reaped probably a bigger harvest if I would have been patient, taken a breath, not always trying to be running to the next thing, and just plant at the season that I'm in. When you're raising kids, it's easy to want to be in another season. It's easy to want to move on and move on fast. But your children's future depends on your ability to plant in the season that you're in. What kind of future do you want for your children? Plant. Even if your current season is temporary, settle in and reap a harvest. Okay, so we've taken a step. We've planted. Okay, here we go. Last thing. My cards are stuck together. Last one is listen and watch. Listen and watch. Those are both active words, but yet slightly passive. I think it's both. I think when we're listening, we can listen with intent and intention. I used to say to my kids, you hear me, I used to say, no, wait, what was it? I used to say to them, you're listening, but you're not hearing me. You know, when kids are smaller and you're saying, clean the room, pick up after this, do this, whatever. And they're like, okay. I'm like, you heard my words like Snoopy, wah, 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 the character on Snoopy, but you did not hear what I was saying. I want you to hear it. I want you to take it in. I want you to respond. So maybe that should say, hear and watch. Listen, hear, soak it in and watch. And then there's other times when I've got worship music playing and it's just soaking into my spirit. It's kind of a little bit a passive action. And then watching, I think about there's two ways that we can watch. We can observe, just take into account of what's going on around me. But we can also look forward. We can keep our eyes forward, marked on the finish line of our life. And we can move in that direction. And so as we're taking steps and we're planting and we've got this forward motion going in our life, I encourage you to listen and to watch as to what's going on around you. Because I think we miss out on the things that could present themselves. Remember, evidence of things not yet seen? What if something is presented in the natural realm that's put in front of you to see, but you bypass it because you're not watching, you're not observing, you're not listening, you're not hearing, you're not taking it in, you're rushing to the next thing, or angry, so you close your ears out of frustration. I don't want to hear anything anymore. I don't want to see what's in front of me. But what if the very thing of encouragement that God is saying, I want to give you something, son and daughter, I want to give you a gift, I want to show you something. What if it is being presented in front of you, but you're not listening and you're not watching, you're not observing, you're not looking forward, you've got your head down, stuck in the sand? It's the faith walk, people. You got to keep your eyes open. You've got to look around and see what God is doing. Recently, I had a conversation with my son. He's discovering and navigating life and next steps in life. And I said, let's look and see where the favor of God is on your life. That is a great indicator. That's a great encourager of having faith, because We can look at the favor of God on our life and what that looks like, this like highlighted, like things just seem to be going well in this area and it's kind of effortless. I would call that favor. What's God doing? What energizes you? What's working? And don't say, nothing's working in my life, everything's a mess. That's not true. I'm sure there is something that is working in your life. One thing, there's got to be one thing. Our God's way too good for there not to be one thing. So I'm sure there's something happening in your life that's really good. And I think we can look at that favor on our life and say, okay, God, is that something that I need to lean into and pour more energy into? Is this where you're leading and guiding me, even though it looks like something different than what I expected? But I think we can also look at favor and we can say, wow, thanks, God. You are so good. You have great plans for my life. And so thank you. And it encourages us to keep moving forward in the walk of faith, in this thing called the faith walk. So we have, going back, let's recap how far we've come. We've stepped and made a move. We've planted. We're keeping our eyes open. We're looking at the things around us and we're anticipating good things and we're looking at favor. We're watching, we're observing. Now what? I already gave it to you. Remember? Repeat. Do it all over again. Repeat over and over again. Okay, so we have a saying that I say sometimes. So health is like the laundry. It's just never done. I'm going to say the walk of faith is like the laundry. We keep doing it over and over and over again. Because our faith begins to grow and grow and grow and grow. But it's not a finish line where we cross this finish line and it's over. It's a journey, it's a process, and it's beautiful. And we grow, and God gives us more things, and we grow, and He expands our territory, and we grow, and we move forward, and we're growing in faith. So I think sometimes in faith, we can feel alone. We can feel like I'm the only one that is in this mess. I'm the only one that have these problems. I'm the only one. Kind of that woe is me mentality. So I was looking at something today and I thought this was interesting. So I'm going to pull out my Bible for you and I'm going to recap in literally, I don't know, maybe 2 minutes. I'm going to recap Hebrews 11. I think this is fascinating, encouraging, and a little bit like, get it together. That's the way I view it. Maybe you view it a little differently, but here we go. Verse 1, now faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. That is what the ancients were commended for. Here we go. For all of chapter 11, this is what it says. By faith, we understand that the universe was formed in God's command. By faith, Abel still speaks even though he is dead. By faith, Enoch did not experience death. By faith, Noah, we know about Noah. He saved a whole nation. He saved a people group. He built a boat. By faith, Abraham, he obeyed, went, and received the promise. By faith, Isaac blessed Jacob and Esau regarding their future. By faith, Jacob. By faith, Joseph. By faith, Moses. By faith, the walls of Jericho came tumbling down. By faith, the prostitute Rahab was welcomed by spies. She was not killed. By faith. I love this. In chapter 12, verse 1. If you're feeling alone, here you go. Therefore, Since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders the sin and the things and the thoughts that so easily entangle us. Let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and the perfecter of our faith. Wow. The pioneer, the one that started the whole thing, and the finisher of our faith, of your faith. The one that started it, the one that finished it. He's got it all under control. He says, son and daughter, friend, I'm telling you, have faith. It will all get better. The same God, the same Lord that helped each of those men and women have faith and navigate their journey is the same God that we serve today. The same God that when we say faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not yet seen, that we are to keep our eyes on Jesus, the author and the finisher of our faith. It's this sense that what he's saying over us today is, will you trust that I will finish what I started in you? Will you trust that the things in the unseen realm, the things you have not seen yet come to pass in your life, that I have a perfect plan for you, and that I am God is the Father of the faith? Have faith. It's all gonna work out. So in this faith walk, this thing that you and I are doing, remember, step, plant, listen, and watch, and then repeat. It kind of sounds like a dance. Step, plant, listen, repeat. Step, plant, listen, repeat. You have all of heaven cheering you on. You're not the only one. I'm with you. We have a whole grandstand of men and women of the faith cheering us on, and we are going to trust in the Lord, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the one who has it all in the palm of his hands. It's going to be awesome. You can trust him. We're on the journey together. Have faith. It'll all get better.